I figured you
What
didn't because you said
happened?
after.
I know. It's like as soon as I heard the F-bomb, I was like, she's no way.
All right, now we are live. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. Okay, cool. It's okay. These things
We're having
happen.
difficulties, y'all.
All right,
Always.
guys. So we are ATX Homegirls. Thank you again for joining our live stream every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. We are a diverse group of local realtors bringing you valuable content about everything real estate. And I'm excited to introduce our new ATX Homegirl. Megan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am an Austinite, born and raised, and I come from generations of realtors with a niche or niche of social media content.
Awesome. Thank you. Yay. Welcome. I know our group is growing, so this is awesome. Kina, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Awesome. I am also a native Austinite, born and raised in Round Rock, if that counts. We'll count it.
Yeah, we'll count it.
Mainly focused on residential real estate, of course. I do a lot of work mostly in the North Austin area. And at home, I've got a dog and a little 3-year-old who pretty much rule my life. So that's me.
Awesome. And then Amanda, we haven't seen you in a while. Go ahead, girl.
Hello, I'm back. My name is Amanda. I'm in real estate and as well, I'm also in property management. I've been in property management for 12 years. So I do real estate and property management. And I have 4 kids and I'm married and I'm super busy and doing this YouTube live and trying to juggle everything. I'm trying to make it happen.
Awesome. I know. There you go, girl. You got it. You got this. You got this. And here you are with us. So that's awesome. And then Melissa, girl, what are you doing? Girl, put that down and introduce yourself.
Always a little distracted, as y'all know. So.
Yes.
Thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate all our loyal YouTube Live viewers. If you're new, welcome. I am an original homegirl, an OG.
There you go.
From Southeast Austin, born and raised, Metropolis, USA. Woo-woo, 4-1. And I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor for some time now, and I've got 2 kids and a beautiful granddaughter. So you follow me on social media, that's all you're going to see is my grandbaby. And I live in Manor, so I do a lot of real estate here. And I'd love to help you guys out. And if not, we can always point you guys in the right direction. Thank you for being here. And we hope you come back.
Thank you, Melissa. And guys, I'm Liza Brazel. I'm also a native Austinite. Born and raised here, grew up most of my life in Montopolis, and I've been in residential sales for almost a decade, helping people buy homes and sell homes here in the greater Austin area. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead with the topic. Did investing die in Austin? So I think really that matters who you're asking, right? First, let's recap real quick. What's happened recently is interest rates have hiked to combat inflation. We've also had property appraisals that have climbed over 50% in the surrounding counties, Travis County, including the surrounding counties. And we also have something interesting that I've been seeing as well is new builds that are coming, they're on the market, or what they're doing now is they're making it available to investors. So let's talk about what we see, what's going on. Anybody can jump in. Go ahead, guys. This is an organic conversation. Let's jump in.
Can I just start off with something?
Yes, go ahead, girl.
I want to know what's in Amanda's glass. Is that non-alcohol or alcohol?
Oh, okay.
Look, I haven't been on live for a hot minute, so it is a little bit to kind of loosen me up. I feel a little pressure.
If anybody cares, I have water, my essential water.
You normally have an APA or an IPA or something like that.
I know.
You're normally...
I'm on a strict diet right now for the next couple of months, so no beer for a while. Yeah. Tea.
Because we're talking about the tea. We're
gonna give people the tea, what we're seeing, right?
Stop drinking the tea.
Anybody else
Mine's
drinking?
tea too.
Kina,
Anyway,
Megan?
sorry for the distraction, but So my phone's been ringing off the hook lately. You guys know I live in a pretty popular subdivision in Manor, Texas called Shadow Glen. And yeah, and so does Amanda. She's my neighbor. So, the phone calls I'm getting on listings are, in the past, I would say 6 months or so, have mostly been folks that were doing, office working from home, and don't necessarily need to be here anymore. Maybe they're not originally from here, so they've sold their houses. But recently, a lot of the phone calls I've been getting are from people who have purchased homes in Shadow Glen as investment property or Manor, and are looking to sell. And a lot of that has to do with, yes, it's great. We're getting you guys a lot of money for your homes if you're selling. If you're a buyer, maybe not so much. And then we throw in the factors of the higher interest rates. But most recently, we all talked about this, and the last live was the tax valuations came out, and people are, that formula just isn't working anymore for some investors. And the formula we're talking about is the buy and hold. So you buy this property, nice rental property in the neighborhood that is going to increase in property value. And sometimes the one thing that especially out-of-state investors don't factor in is what happens with property taxes. A lot of people that are from California that did buy here in the Austin or suburbs surrounding Austin may have, they have always complained about our property taxes, but we don't have a state tax.
Right.
So we see that reflected in our property taxes. So when these valuations come out and you're,
Oh, you froze, Melissa.
froze.
It's so
It's
shocking.
like
She
perfect.
froze. Guys,
Natural.
I know. This is you froze for a bit, girl. Resume.
I wish I would have had that for a photo.
Can y'all please take a picture of what I look like frozen? Please, someone, anyone.
All right. Next time I'll take a
recreate
picture. It was actually a good one. I should have taken a picture.
like
I didn't
this.
think about it.
Yeah.
I'll take a picture. Can y'all hear me at least?
Yes, we can hear you. You're moving, girl. I see your phone.
Yeah, you're frozen now.
You're not frozen.
I'm not. Okay. All right, great. Yay, I'm back. Okay, so I took a picture of what I see so that y'all can laugh your ass off. Do you want to see it really quick?
What do
Can
you
y'all see me?
Yeah.
You're back.
This is what I froze looking like. Hold on.
Yep, that's what we
That
saw.
was it.
That's messed up. But anyway, so I just wanted to dive in and say that's been my experience with residential real estate investors in this area. And most investors that I'm having conversations with are saying the same thing. If they're doing a buy and hold investment, it's not in the metro area. It's really far out. You're talking an hour or more out.
Right.
So dead maybe in the metro area for some. That's my
For
little
some,
2 cents.
and you know what, Melissa, speaking for some, what you had said earlier, I'm curious to know, are these mom and pop investors, right? Because I know that differs greatly, mom and pop investors versus big time investors that have a large portfolio of homes and they're okay holding. To them, they know to write off their losses, right? To them, it makes sense. To them, they're okay. Maybe they might sell off an asset or so, or just hold and write it off as a loss. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, with the people that are calling you, are they small-time investors, right? That have maybe a few properties in their portfolio. Is that what you're getting?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
getting like maybe 1 to 3 property investors,
Right.
small, just lucked out, or maybe they had a family member that moved to the area, so they thought, hey, let me buy this new construction, this little Meritage home number, when
Right.
it was like $275K, bought in 2019, and they're like, this don't work anymore. This doesn't make sense for me. It's more or less what I'm seeing. The property that I contracted on today is an older home. She happens to be an agent and investor. So she has properties in other markets, but she called me the moment she got her valuation.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she's like, it's got to go. What do I need to do? It's got to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it
I mean, it's
depends.
interesting. I think. Oh, sorry, Liza.
No,
I was just
go
gonna
ahead.
say. I think
Please
it's
do.
interesting because, especially for the smaller investors, like you said, Melissa, it seems in Austin, it's never been so much about it's a buy and hold strategy. So a lot of investors in Austin have focused more on the appreciation side of things and just kind of betted on that. Because, if we're talking about like the 1% rule, that's almost never been a thing, at least not lately in Austin for quite some time.
Yeah.
So now just making that skewed even further off of that just makes it so much more difficult for people to make that profit monthly. So the investors that I've spoken to that have their rentals already, kind of in the same situation, they saw their appraisals come in and they're like, I mean, I'd have to raise my rent by at least $1,000 or so to make this make sense. And it doesn't sit right with some of them, especially when they're smaller time investors. They know their tenants, sometimes even personally. It feels dirty, and a lot of them are uncomfortable with it. But some of these bigger investors, they, like you said, Liza, they can get by right off their losses, or they aren't uncomfortable with the concept of raising their rents. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag with the buy and hold strategy for sure.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Melissa, like for to use your example in the Shadow Glen neighborhood. I mean, it doesn't have to be that particular neighborhood specifically. It can be just in general in Manor. So, for example, in Manor, the average price point in Manor versus what rents you could get, right? Does it make sense? Like, what are you seeing?
2,800 is one.
Well, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in this neighborhood unless your rent is well over $1 a square foot.
Right.
And even then, it probably isn't going to be a break-even situation. But what Keena said was nail on the head. Like, are you comfortable just raising that rent by that's just a lot of money to raise rent by. So anyway, no, I don't think it makes sense in this neighborhood. There's other neighborhoods that may make sense in, that are not in Manor. We actually have a MUD tax here. So, we're coming in with the regular county taxes and the MUD included. We're coming in at about 3.08 now.
Oof.
In this neighborhood. Oof. So can you imagine? So,
Oof.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty high. I mean,
yeah.
Well, then let's talk about what are investors looking for, right? The investors that are purchasing in Austin, right? Would it be safe to assume that they're primarily buying maybe homes that are in a distressed condition, that need work, that need to be torn down, and then so they can build new because they know that market supports it? Would it be that? Are you guys seeing that?
That's exactly what I'm seeing.
That's exactly what I'm seeing too, especially in East Austin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And from there, you can do the buy and hold as well. I mean, rehab it.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
we're talking about rental. Like, what is it? Like, if you're, and I don't work with a lot of rental clients. I may list some rental properties. I couldn't believe we got 2,800 in Manor in what was that neighborhood, Amanda? Wild Horse Ranch.
Wild Horse Ranch.
Yeah, Wild Horse Ranch.
I lived there for a whole 2 years. I should know the name of the neighborhood, but Wild Horse Ranch. So what are you be seeing for rent rate in Austin right now? Because I heard it's ridiculous.
It's like 30-40% increase.
What is the average rental rate in Austin?
You're looking about anywhere starting like 1,800.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. So I've helped a few rentals around the downtown area, and I mean, we were even looking to just stay under $2,000, and anywhere that's under $2,000, it's like there's nothing left, or you're coming up to like 2,100. Like even a unit that I actually had myself was $1,350, and it went up to 2,200 for the exact same unit.
Oh my goodness.
Oh God.
You're looking at renewal rates, especially like people in the apartment, living in apartment homes. You're looking at renewal rates anywhere from 20 to 40% increase.
How are people going to afford that? I don't understand. It's impossible. If those rates are changing and your income isn't changing and the cost of living is rising, this is not sustainable. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's scary. It's kind of scary.
It is very scary. The landscape, for sure, it's changing. And I think I might have brought this up. It might have been on our prior live or a couple lives before. But just to give an example, we're as Austinites or people that have lived here for a while, we're used to seeing these certain rental rates. We're accustomed to that. And these spikes in rental, or the rental increases, when I was showing home from an out-of-state person, right? They were considering either buying or renting, if whatever made sense. I remember he asked me, he goes, I'm so shocked for a big home, you know, people aren't charging $5,000 for a home, you know, $5,000 a month. And he asked me, he goes, why do you think that is? And then I said, because that's not what the market calls for. This is what we're now in certain areas, right? Certain areas of downtown. I mean, yeah, we see it's not that. Yeah, there's some that are $15,000 a month, some that are $5,000 a month, $8,000 a month. But on average, right? Normally, the sweet spot for people is between $2,000, $2,500, maybe even up to $3,000 a month, and that's been a bit difficult for some people that are trying to stay under 20. They're trying to stay under 2,000, and they're okay going maybe 2,200, and then they're like, you know what? Maybe I'll push it to 2,300. Like it's going beyond what people are normally comfortable with, because that wasn't customary to see that for, you know, your general homes, right? And what do investors normally buy? They normally buy a 3-bedroom or more, right? 2 baths or more, maybe above 1,200, 1,500 square feet or more, probably be the sweet spot for them. They're not really buying a house with less bedrooms than that. It's ideally 3 to 4 bedrooms, 1 story, 2 stories, more than 1,500 square feet. That for them is the sweet spot. And those are the homes that are hard to get now under $2,000 a month in the Austin area. It's really difficult. People are they're being pushed out. So now Buda, it's a little bit more, it's harder. They're really being pushed out. So to where their commute now is almost an hour, I want to say. I don't know. What are you guys seeing?
I agree. People are willing to do the commute just to get that better rental rate. Mm-hmm. But even at that, I mean, if you can see a highway or you're like a mile from a highway, location is what you're paying for. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're seeing at my property. You know, people are literally going for location. You know, a lot of people don't want to walk anymore. People want to catch an Uber or a Lyft and all that. So it's just trying to make the outskirts more metro.
Right.
I think that's what it's doing.
Well, it is, right? You got Pflugerville.
Mm-hmm.
It's got everything you need. You really don't need to go to Austin. You have, what about up there, Megan, your hometown, Cedar Park, Leander?
Yeah, I mean, I don't go up there nearly as often, but I mean, the few times I've even been in that area, I mean, everything's been kind of booming. I actually showed a house on Liberty Hill, and even just the drive going up through Cedar Park, Liberty Hill, Leander. I mean, they have shopping centers, they have restaurants that have never been there, they have, you know, neighborhoods that have popped up everywhere. So it's definitely expanded, you know, beyond just like, I think when people think of like Austin expanding, they only kind of picture, you know, 15 minutes from anywhere downtown. But in reality, I mean, you're talking like an hour-long drive in an expansion. Like it's, right. You know, I know people that want to live beyond Taylor and beyond, you know, Hutto and all these places because they're like, I really need to get something under 500,000, and it's just been even hard to find that now. So
exactly.
So along the lines of talking about affordability, buy and hold investment, there is other types of investing that is actually still working for people in Austin. I reached out to a few investors this afternoon, just doing some research for this live, and a lot of them are saying they're still in business. They're buying homes, maybe not in the traditional way. Maybe they got word of mouth. There's this house that's going to hit the market. You know, real estate agents are good people to be friends with if you're investors. I'm just saying. Like, I may not know the property, but my friend may know of a property, right? Like, hey, Megan knows me. I know Liza. I know some off market. I mean, this is what you're having to do. You know, use the resources you have. So there are people winning and investing. So maybe not completely dead for not the buy and hold necessarily, but for flipping.
Exactly. And then I think the way business, how normally people conduct business is normally investors will either have their mindset, I want to buy and hold a property, and that's all they go in, right? Now, what I'm seeing, at least with my investors, again, I don't speak for everybody, I'm just giving my perspective, at least with my investors, they're wanting to see what property is out there running their numbers to see if it makes sense to one, buy or hold, right? Buy and hold, or fix and flip, or wholesale it, right? I mean, I still see wholesale deals a lot, quite a bit actually, and they're going by really quick. So, and then these are cash.
Liza, can you explain to the audience what wholesale is?
Yeah, wholesale, well, they're supposed to be off-market deals, right? But some of these wholesalers will get a property, right, at a specific price in agreement with the seller. And what they do so they can get a profit, they upsell it at a still reasonable price that makes sense to the end investor, depending on what they're going to do, and they wholesale it, right? The investor, normally they only sell it cash, or you have to do a hard money loan, but primarily it would be for cash buyers because they do have already preset terms that they need to meet. So in other words, if there is a wholesale property, what they do is they'll set a price, for example, $600,000 for a home in Cherrywood. We need to close in 2 weeks. You pay all the closing costs. You have to pay cash. You have to give the seller a 60-day lease back. They already have the preset terms that the end buyer has to agree. Once they have that, they're allowed to view the property. Or sometimes it's sight unseen, right? And the end buyer, the end buyer has to make a decision right away because these are going really fast if they want to move forward with the house or not. And then they can certainly do their due diligence. And if they want to back out, well, they will lose their deposit, a non-refundable deposit. Sometimes $5,000, sometimes $10,000, but they would lose that if they were to back out. So that's typically how a wholesale deal works. They are properties that are priced under market value, and that's the incentive there. But the end buyer has to be, for the wholesale properties at least, the end buyer, the investor would have to be very knowledgeable, savvy investors on what they're doing. Because a lot of these homes they're distressed. They need a lot of work. They're not always a quick fix, move-in ready for a buy and hold. It may make sense for a buy and hold, but at these prices, a lot of the homes that I've seen have been in poor condition that needs work, and then ultimately that's how they're selling it. They present the package that way, depending on what makes sense. So yeah, that's a wholesale in a quick summary. It's not real. It doesn't entail everything, but that's what that would.
So in layman's terms, it's basically they procure this property, they find this property, they promise the seller a certain price, and then they want to make a profit, so they turn around and sell it for this price, and then sold in 2 weeks. Exactly. And they take their 10, 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50,000, sometimes more, who knows, and then they use that money to go buy other investments potentially. You do see a lot of wholesalers that actually flip the homes themselves, especially if they can't sell it, or especially if it's a good formula for them. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. So another thing at least with my investors, I mean, not that they're not looking in MLS or what's on MLS right now, but I've noticed a lot of them have asked me, can you find something off market, right? They don't want to deal with the competition. Obviously, they don't want to, like everybody else, don't want to overpay or have to go in a bidding process. But some of them are looking just for off market so they can have time to assess if the numbers work for them. It doesn't always work out, but that's where the strange thing is that I had one investor call me out of state. And she said, I don't know why I didn't think of getting with a realtor, because she was trying to do everything. She's a realtor in a different state, but she was trying to do everything herself, thinking that she would be successful. And she kept being, losing these offers. And she was like, you know what? Maybe if I get with a realtor, I can try to find something off market. It is a relationship business, right? This is how we know firsthand, hey, Melissa has a property coming up, maybe we can work something off market. Or Kina, right? You have something coming up. And some sellers do prefer off market. Depending on their situation, right? Some of them, there can be elderly and cannot move around a lot, and cannot be in and out of the house for the property to be shown. So they prefer off market. That's one scenario. It could be a family that has a brand new baby, right? They have a fresh baby and they don't want to be bothered with all these showings. So it really depends on the situation, which is why some of these homes are sold off market. So what I'm seeing is investors are wanting homes that are off market. running their numbers to see what it would make sense. Buy and hold, fix and flip, or they're looking outside of Austin. And what I mean by outside of Austin, it can be as far north as Gerald, Liberty Hill, all the way south to even the north side of San Antonio. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing the same thing, or maybe there's something that you want to bring in as far as your perspective goes.
Anyone? Because I'll jump in.
Jump in.
No, I'm seeing a lot of the same as what you're saying, Liza. A lot of my flip or builder clients are pretty much still, they're active. They don't stop. The market doesn't scare them, essentially.
Right.
So they're definitely still looking, like you said, off market, wholesale deals, all kinds of stuff. Like they're resilient, I guess is really the word for it. Like they are not scared of the market dipping or any of those things. So they just need to really worry about their margins. And as long as their numbers look good, they're going to go for whatever they can. I have seen a few of them, go a little bit further outside of Austin, but there's still a lot in Austin that has potential. So I've definitely still seen them looking for flips, land, all kinds of stuff that they can build on or rebuild, tear down.
Land, your clients.
Oh, do you? Where is this land?
Right.
It's in Kyle.
Okay, that might be of interest. We'll have to connect.
Okay.
So I sold a property last May in Metropolis. Our closing price was $447,000. And we had, it sat for a long time, I thought, and I think they were dealing with permit issues or, that's a big thing also with flip investors is it's just like it's killing them, these permits. But anyway, they closed yesterday. And does anyone want to guess, with not you, Liza, because I know you know what the price is.
All right, I'll stay quiet.
Does anybody want to guess what
it was? How much it was for? What in Metropolis?
Oh man, you froze, Melissa. Oh, you know what? Let me take a picture of Melissa frozen. Hold on a sec.
Here,
there.
Alex is back.
My bad.
There you go. Now you're good. You're good, girl. You're moving. You're good. All right, go ahead, Melissa.
You said you listed it for what?
She froze. No, hey,
God.
something's going on where it's like this information should not be told or something.
I know.
All right, Melissa, let's try this again.
My bad.
You're back, girl. What did you list this property for, and what did it sell for? In Montopolis.
No, I have to guess.
Okay,
what we sold
you know
for.
what? Okay.
No, but what did you list it for?
We listed it for $375 last year. It sold for $447.5. It was like the most expensive reno project that was there at the time. An investor bought it. I did not work with the investor that bought it. They took some time. They renovated it, and I'm asking you guys what you think that closed price is today.
$750.
Kina, you would have won the lottery. $749,990. $749, actually. $749 even is what they closed it for.
In
78741.
In 78741. Who would have thought? Seeing those prices there, it's growing up here, right? I mean, for out-of-state people, this might be a norm. I do get some people that are, when they move out of state, they're like, oh, these are great prices, right? But for me, it's a shock to me still, seeing those prices in certain neighborhoods. I get it. It's really not a matter of, oh, it's a norm over there, or it's just for us here, right? That's something that I have some adjusting to do for.
Well, that's good. That's the hood we grew up in. So I'm like, I know what the house looked like. So it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's baffling. I'm sure we'll get used to it. Like you say, we just have to digest this. But I was just really shocked. It came out beautiful. The guy who did the remodel, and it just came out beautiful. It's a corner lot, so they got a premium. But corner lots fare better than interior lots, as we know.
Right.
So like we were saying, as long as those margins work, it's still worth it for them,
Right.
right? That seemed to be a project that took a little long. It almost took him a year from the time he bought it to the time he sold it.
Well, I will say too, to add into the rental situation, in Montopolis, actually, the lowest 2-bedroom that I found for a client was actually 2,200 a month.
Yeah.
In Montopolis?
Yeah.
And I bet it was tiny.
It's very central to 35 downtown. So yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's close to 71, still not far from, the I-35, everything like that. So I get it, but I'm also like, it just goes to show that it doesn't even really matter what part of the city you're looking in. Like, you could be further from downtown. I mean, it was like maybe a 15-minute from our office, which is close to downtown. So it's interesting to see that, like, even just the rental rates that have influxed just the amount since 2020.
That's a lot. And I bet you it was like not much square footage either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you guys see the norm for rental prices soon, maybe this year sometime, to be around 3,000?
Oh yeah.
3,000 a month? Yeah. Like, I think it'll get more and more difficult just because naturally, I think investors that are holding these properties that they currently have, they'll have to naturally raise these rental rates just to
sustain.
Yeah, just to either to sustain them, or it might not even be to sustain them. They just they see the market going that way, and I hate to say this, but unfortunately for the ones that are renting, it's not good news for them. For the investors, it's good news for them because they can, after the lease expires, they can hike up that rental rate. So, I mean, if they see the market going one way and they have every right to do so, they're probably going to do so. There's a few landlords out there that they care more about long-term tenants, right? Someone that's just going to pay on time, long-term. They don't want to deal with the expense of finding a new tenant, running an application. So they'll do it at a lower market rate just to secure a good tenant. So there are some of those out there. But who knows, right? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't think we'll really see much activity until later on, until these leases start expiring or coming up for renewal on the buy and hold strategy. But
remember years ago, Liza, we used to help investors, and we would run these calculations for what it would cost for them to flip it, and like, of course, materials and all that. All the pricing back then was just way better. So
it was.
I mean, you didn't even really have to be an experienced investor to do it back then. But I remember even Liza and I were thinking, hey, we could do this too.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you got 40 grand, I got 40. Like, let's do this.
Do it. Yeah.
Like, the thought of it now, it's just like, not necessarily being afraid to take that leap, but
right.
There's all kinds of things that factor in. If you don't do this on a regular basis and you're not used to doing it, the trades, the cost of materials,
right.
Not having reliable. Okay, you can probably get the trades, right? But how skilled are they? Are you going to pay for a floor you're going to have to rip back up because they didn't grout it right, or everything factors into the flip model, and really having.
They were going to have another floor in stock, or is it going to be back order and wait 3 months?
No fridge, no sink.
Yeah.
It's just like
that clear caulking that you had yesterday. It's only white now.
It's so true. It's so true. The way things are now, it's just way different than it was back then, huh, Liza?
Very different. I remember, back in the day, you could easily probably remodel a home for like 20,000, 25,000. Like that was the magical number, right? It was, as long as it's under 30,000, right? That was the magical. Now that's
like a kitchen.
Yeah.
Half a kitchen.
Yeah. No way. So that's the thing, right? Depends on which investor you're asking, right? If they want to hold for long-term gains, or that long-term hold, right? Because they see the potential, the equity. Some investors think that way. They're like, well, I want to hold for 10 years. I don't care what the rents are. As long as I, in X amount of years, I get my money back, they're okay with it. So everybody has a different strategy, and really it just boils down to what makes sense for them. For me personally, right, Austin doesn't make sense for me because of my finances, what I have in my reserves, my budget. So we are looking outside of Austin in other areas that are probably within. I think my husband went today to an investment property that unfortunately is not going to work out, but that was a 3.5-hour drive from here. Ideally, I'm trying to go with the rule of what Melissa had said, I think in a prior stream, that triangle, there's that sweet spot of within 3 hours. So that's me, right? Not everybody's doing that. Some people are like, no, I want Austin. Such as like the short-term rentals, right? I think I saw one off market. I don't know if you saw that one, Melissa, or anybody that saw that on that forum. There's that short-term rental off of Lake Travis that's generating $100K, right, a year part-time, and they're looking to sell that property. I mean, for some people, I think it's listed for, they're going to list it for $1.2 million off market, right? And for some people, that makes sense to them, right? They're like, oh, this is a great investment. So it really depends what type of investor you're asking these questions to. So no, I don't think investing died in Austin. It's just bringing about a new type of investors, right? That new buyer pool in here. What do you guys think?
The only thing that died is my connection.
I'm sorry?
The only thing that died was my internet connection.
And like just to kind of piggyback off of you, we're actually looking for property outside of Austin as well.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. Yeah. I still think real estate, you cannot go wrong with real estate. The interest rates for investments, I think we were, it's around 6% for investment properties, right? And it depends, right? You may need to put down, sometimes some lenders will do 15% minimum on investments. Others will require 25% down. When interest rates at maybe around 6% for investment, because that's different from a buyer that is looking for a primary residence. The people that are now newbie investors, they look at these interest rates and they're like, oh, they're rising. And they do the calculations based off what they see on the internet, right? What they see online. What they don't realize is that those interest rates are targeted to primary home buyers, right? And for an investor, it's going to be different. It's going to be much higher interest rates, more down payment, right? So there's a lot of things to factor in. What are the taxes? Are there any HOA fees, right? What's my interest rate going to be? What's my closing costs? What's my down payment going to be? What can I get, right? What are the rental comps in this area? And does it make sense, right? Are you willing to be, under that red line for a little bit until that equity goes up? Or are you wanting to be just above? It depends. Some people want to cash flow a certain amount, and it depends for every investor, at least from my experience, what the types of investors that I've dealt with. So I'm not sure if you guys are seeing that as well. I'm just one tiny realtor out of thousands of realtors in Austin, so.
Me too.
Ivan in our chat, who's also a realtor in Austin, says, I think investors are considering purchasing for the long-term equity and not necessarily for the cash flow right now.
Right.
Which is like almost exactly in line with what we've been saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ivan, I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot happening in Austin. I don't think historically, and I think Megan has something to say about that. Historically in Austin, I think there was maybe out of 20 years, I want to say, might be longer than that. Historically, there was 1 year where there was a dip, right? All the other years, we've just been trending up, right? Just on an upward motion. So I don't know. It depends. A lot of people are waiting to buy. They don't think it's a good idea. I see videos of people posting not to buy because why would you buy? Interest rates are high, inflation is up, right? And whether you say yes, buy now, or no, don't buy, it's horrible advice. My perspective on that is whatever makes sense for you, and if it makes sense, do it, right? Regardless of the interest rates. And that's my, right? Like, I hope I don't get any hate for that, but that's what I think. I mean,
I mean, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but, and a lot of lenders will say this just doesn't make sense, but I feel like we're at this precipice where it's like, just go ahead and buy, like with somebody that, this is so unpopular, guys. Buy a property now, okay? I don't care if you use an ATX homegrown, just buy something. If you're gonna roommate with something, just buy it with that person. Just do it. Just do it. Come up with a written agreement on how things will work out. You guys will both make money. You'll be paying less than you would be paying in rent. You'll own the property. If you think you can stick around with that person for at least 3 or 4 years, just do it. Just do it.
Or Airbnb it. I mean, Austin has all kinds of events every year, and people make tons of money with ACL, South by Southwest. I mean, we have people from around the world that book these things in a year advance. I mean, it's bringing all kinds of people here, and especially like if you're looking for even just like a little condo that's built in the 80s somewhere near Austin. I mean, with Uber and all these drivers and everything, I mean, you'll make your money back.
Exactly. The Nativo, y'all know about that condo high rise, right? Nativo. So they're the first here in Austin. I think they have another high rise in Florida, but Nativo is like the first where you can own a condominium within that high rise, and all of it is for short-term rentals, Airbnb. They have a property management on site. It's fully furnished. Now they're freaking expensive, but there's one that just came on the market for $905,000, a 1-bedroom, or roughly 600 square feet. And then there's one off market for $825,000, 1-bedroom, roughly around the same in square footage, great views. But you can Airbnb that, right? So it depends, right? For that end buyer, does that make sense? Short-term rentals, right? People are getting creative with short-term rentals. Short-term rentals for me is I like the experience, which is why I go on Airbnb. I want an experience, not just a house to just stay in. I want a freaking experience. So give me that experience. So, and I know Melissa has that Airbnb by Magnolia Beach, and I think you didn't freeze, but she
stayed there. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. She's created this experience. She's put a lot of work into it. And I love that. I love what people are doing with that. And that's another investment strategy for some people. Other people, I think people are going to try to come up with creative solutions, such as, not that house hacking is new. It's not new, but that's how my sister got started. She bought her house. She rented out a couple rooms. It would pay her mortgage, use that money, and buy another house after a year or so, So
for those who are looking into Nativo, it's with 2 I's.
Yeah, Nativo. So if anybody's interested, off of Rainy Street, high rise. It's a beautiful high rise.
Yeah, it's unreal. Like, this is where we're at, Austin, Texas, folks. This is where we're at. You're.
Oh, you froze again. Oh no, this is so shocking. She froze. No. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead. Speak. You're back. Speak.
Okay, so I was just saying, like, if you're from Austin and you're freaking out, like, just roll with it, Try to keep your real estate and property if you can. If you feel like you're forced to sell because you can't afford your taxes, just remember your rental income isn't going to be low either. So maybe you buy out of town.
I will say that I did just have a buyer who was looking into Airbnb who then went a different direction because I don't know how much you guys have looked into it. Typically, as a realtor, you're not really too worried about it. However, there is a lot of new rules going out with Airbnb and the city of Austin.
Yeah.
They aren't allowing more than one within like a few miles of each other in most neighborhoods. They're not allowing them at a majority of the condos downtown. Obviously, the one that's made for, Airbnb or short-term rental is a different situation. But that's definitely something that I didn't know anything really about until I had that client that I was constantly asking questions. And then he was also asking questions through the city. And ultimately, like, they are making it much harder to just up and start that if you're not already permitted in like a location now. So that is something to kind of look into, at least before you start looking at properties, because obviously you don't want to buy something and then be told you can't short-term rental it.
And
That's typically
that's good for you to mention that.
Not improving those applications as much as they were before.
Right.
And what were you saying, Amanda? I didn't hear you.
No, I said most of that is if there is an HOA, like Shadow Glen, you can't Airbnb. So
yeah,
even neighborhoods without HOA, people are not getting those quick approvals on their Airbnb as they for approval through the city as they thought they were. So just heed the warning, But the small towns, you can still do like a little small town Airbnb or Verbo,
Hey, buy land. There are no restrictions.
Land with no restriction. I know, right? I mean, you have to look at not only HOA, right? Deed restrictions, and on top of that, zoning, right? Does the city zoning allow it? Certain cities, like, and Kina knows this, with New Braunfels, they have a neat system where you can enter an address and see if it's zoned for short-term rentals, right? It's New Braunfels is popular for that, right? It's right on the lake, on the river. So that's one. San Marcos, you have to live in it if you're going to do an Airbnb. It can't be unless it's in the commercial zone, right? So all of these things are important. So it's one of those things where the end buyer, it's hard, right? Because they want to be at a certain price. And they don't really want to nail down why I only want to look at short-term rentals. I want to see what the numbers will work. But with short-term rentals, there's a lot more digging you have to do, right, with these restrictions. Such as Megan said, I mean, the buyer, did he end up looking or what happened?
Actually still looking.
Okay.
We did sell one of the properties that he Airbnb'd, and we actually had someone that was interested in continuing it to be an Airbnb, which is another kind of thing that we realized. And he would not have been approved for the permit. I'm not sure the reason why, but we were just basically told that he went through the city to make sure that would be something that he could then take over in a way through his own permits. And the city said that neighborhood was not allowed to have any more Airbnbs until more of them came down. Because like I said, I think now they're kind of looking at, I'm just throwing out a number, but maybe like within a 2-mile radius, they only want one, or something like that. Because these older, more established neighborhoods, they don't love, a group of 7 people coming in and kind of there for the weekend to party, maybe a little bit loud, maybe coming in late, maybe, whatever. But obviously they've had enough pushback towards the city about doing something to where now they are definitely much, much more into enforcing whether or not it's Airbnb allowed.
Exactly. And I think what people were doing also, and they may still be if they're able to, but I know with other people that took advantage of it when they could, they used their own property, right? And what I mean by that is their own single family residence that they had, if they had a bit more yard, right, backyard, they would build, they would build a casita, rent that out, and they're banking, man, that pays the mortgage for them. So that was whoever did that back in the day, man, y'all are set. That's awesome.
Round Rock
that they were
as
able
a
to do
whole
that.
has very little restrictions. So I don't know if your client is open to that, Megan, but unless you have an HOA in Round Rock, I'm pretty sure there's not very many restrictions out there.
By Kalahari, that would seem kind of popular, right?
Most definitely.
Field, Kalahari.
There's lots of attractions, and people still love being in Round Rock. There's still so much to do out there.
Yeah, 100%.
Got them donuts. Got those Round Rock donuts.
No, I definitely relayed that. But his first Airbnb was actually in the Domain, and he was hoping to get closer to actual downtown.
Yeah.
Which, as of right now, it's just not looking like it's going to be probably the easiest. So we are trying to maneuver, but he's definitely pretty headstrong about he's really wanting to continue looking, at least for now, close to downtown. So.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, something will pop up, and then hopefully with those off-market connections, they can come up. That's hopefully someone's viewing. Like we had a realtor, right, view our stream, and he chimed in for a bit, so he might have something. I don't know. Ivan, are you still there? Help assist us.
I just got a text message from my mom.
Okay.
My mom texts me and says, "You look beautiful, smile, and stop chewing your nails. Love you."
Aww,
thanks, Mom.
That's so sweet.
Mom's always looking out.
Right? Hey, at least your mom knows how to watch YouTube streaming. My mom doesn't. She doesn't.
Like, she wants you hating on her.
I know, right? She has Facebook, all right? No.
I can't believe she didn't say anything about me. How rude.
I know.
Hey, my grandma knows how to get on YouTube. I think she was on one of our first lives.
Nice.
That is so cool. Dang.
Your abuela?
70s.
What?
Oh.
That's awesome.
So the answer to the question is, did investing die in Austin? And the answer is
No.
No.
Nope.
no.
No.
We can still help you, you know. It's all about the numbers.
It takes
It's all about
patience,
numbers.
the numbers, yeah. And that's why a lot of investors are wanting to look off market because they need a little bit more time to run the numbers. I mean, in certain areas, I'm not saying all areas, but in certain areas, it definitely has slowed down quite a bit, right? With how the market has been moving, with all these other variables that have been thrown at it on top of inflation, interest rate, and then the property appraisals. I'm also seeing with new builds, that's never a bad idea. They did kind of pause that in the beginning, limiting the new builds, the amount of investors that can buy a new build, right? And now and I think you guys share the same opinion here, but I've seen emails that come my way from new builders in certain communities that are now allowing investors on several of their homes, not one home, several of their homes. Because at the time, I don't know if you guys remember, it was, we only have one home in this community that can go to an investor. And it was fair, right? Because primary buyers were struggling, they were having a hard time. And it was kind of nice to have that in place. But now they're not really selling as quickly, right? They're not selling as fast. And they're now opening up to investors. It's just kind of...
Dreamfinder's home in Orchard Ridge allows investors.
Yeah. There's a lot of communities that are now allowing investors.
It's in Liberty Hill, right?
I'm sorry?
Liberty Hill. It's in Liberty
Okay.
Hill, by the way.
Liberty Hill, my goodness, Liberty Hill. Gosh, how often do you guys drive out there? Have y'all seen how much it's grown out there?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna call
haven't
out,
been
I'm
out
not
there
trying
in
to
a
call
long
out my
time.
husband, but he grew up in Liberty Hill. I mean, he stole a candy bar from that store when he was a kid, but we go back, and when we drive there, he would tell me the history, right? And he was like, man, everybody, the whole town would gather in this little strip, the street, right? And they would have like their little parades, their little festivals, and everybody knew everybody, right? The high school was maybe a few hundred students, I think, including, yeah, it's very small. Now it's huge. All these new communities happening, all these, the retail that's opened up, it's gotten popular. So that's awesome for Liberty Hill, for anybody that's looking out there.
Feed into Georgetown ISD, so not super popular for that reason.
Yeah. Oh, and also that too. Yeah. Yep. That's a good point, Melissa.
This is so off subject, but well, we'll come back to it. I'll just do a little teaser. I'll do a little teaser, so that way y'all can come
You
back.
have to say it because you're gonna forget.
No, you don't come back. No.
Nope. That's the cliffhanger. No.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the next live. Oh my goodness. So guys, we are going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining our live. Megan, thank you so much. She's our new ATX homegirl. We love her, we welcome her, and we look forward to doing more live streams with you guys. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel. We go live every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. You will get to see
Central Standard Time.
Central Standard Time. Man, I got to get better at this, guys.
If
So
I
please
can
forgive
make
me.
it, you can make it.
Yeah, Amanda's got like 10 kids and 10 jobs. Y'all can do
Right.
it.
No excuses, guys. So
No
again,
excuses.
yeah, it's an organic conversation. We did not script any of this except for the intro because I got it down. I am practicing every time. So but other than that,
Subscribe.
unsubscribe. We have now 3 subscribed. No, I'm just kidding. But we're
Can you
still,
hear me, Liza?
huh?
I said Liza's trying to be Oprah Winfrey. interview
yeah, you get, yeah, I know. Oh, no. But don't forget to like and subscribe. We do have a goal of getting 100 subscribers by July, right? Was it July? I don't remember. July. Please help us out. Help our channel grow. And you get to see our lovely faces every other Wednesday. So again, guys, thank you. And until next time, I'm going to end this live.
Yeah. Bye, guys.